Yeah, because I'm not sharing anything today. Hmm. Okay, so hi, Abhinay, Mohit, and Rajesh. Hi. So today, let's quickly do the introduction. And my name is Abhishek. I'm currently working with Red Hat, and I have close to 8 years of experience, and I've been working on DevOps, Go language, Python, and I basically started with Java, but eventually I moved to DevOps, and then I mean not I did not work a lot on Java. Like for after first couple of years working on Java, I moved to DevOps, and after that I kept on working on Python, Go language, and DevOps, and currently I'm working on OpenShift. If you know, OpenShift is an enterprise Kubernetes solution, and it's a Red Hat product. So currently working on OpenShift, and we work for developer plugins on OpenShift. There is a product called Argo CD, so we work on that. Basically, it's an OpenShift development, and in this course, what we'll be doing is we'll be learning about the whole DevOps thing as well as basics of Python, because when you're working on DevOps, you might have to do some scripting, and basically you might have to in some places you might have to automate things. So for example, if you want to interact with some third party services, or you want to make API calls, simple basic API calls, so you need to have a basic scripting knowledge. If you already have knowledge on shell script, it will be pretty easy, because we'll not be learning Python development, but we'll be learning Python scripting. So more or less it's the same, but it's more efficient to do it in Python. And coming to DevOps, DevOps is basically it's a very vast thing. So we cannot learn we can learn only the topics, but we cannot learn all the tools that are related to the topics. So for example, Abhinay was asking before me, which is a good cloud platform. So all the things are same because the idea is same, the implementation is same. The only thing is everybody is trying to make the user experience better. But the fundamental idea, or the basic background of everybody is the same. So, but what differs is the user experience. So, but if you learn the idea, that's pretty good. So you don't have to learn AWS as your Google Cloud Platform. Then there are other things that are coming up. Oracle has its own cloud, Rancher has its own cloud. So you cannot learn everything. So just learn one thing, and when you're working on the other thing in your organization, probably you'll be able to relate it, because everything is, like I told you, the terminology is changed, but the core concept or the core idea is the same. So we'll focus mostly on AWS, but for the idea, I mean, at the end of the course, we can also look at Azure. Not the whole thing that we have learned on AWS, but we can try to see if we can cover Azure fundamentals as well. And coming to container platform, we'll be looking at Docker, because that's the most used today. And on Docker, we'll be learning about containers. What are containers? The evolution of containers, like why did we shift from VMs to containers, or the bare metals to VMs to containers? We'll be understanding the differences, and why are containers more powerful than VMs? We'll be looking at that. And after that, because containers are short-lived, they're not ephemeral. So what we can do is we can understand the disadvantages of containers, and how platforms like Kubernetes, which are container orchestration platforms, how did they evolve and provide a solution to make containers immortal, and how is the whole thing made secure, how is the whole thing made enterprise ready solution, because containers are just something it's just an architecture, but to make it, Karthik is also joining us. To make it a enterprise solution, you have to have a lot more, right? So there is a difference between running your application on your laptop, and there is a difference between running your application on a server, and again there is a difference between running your application on a enterprise server. So Kubernetes is something that makes Docker an enterprise solution. It provides load balancing to it. It provides security to it. It provides routing to it. It provides API gateway, a lot. So in detail, we will discuss about Kubernetes. And at that point, you will understand the difference between Kubernetes and Docker much better. And then coming to the fundamentals, you need to understand things like Git. I don't know if you guys already know, but we'll anyways cover it. So we'll be understanding Git and the version control system. That's the underlying concept of Git. And then we'll understand CI/CD part of DevOps, because that's one of the important piece of the DevOps engineers work. And coming to CI/CD, there are hell lot of tools. There are hundreds of tools. So the most used is Jenkins. So we'll have a look at Jenkins, and I can also show you one more interesting and evolving thing, that is GitHub Actions. So we can even look at GitHub Actions, and then there is configuration management part of it, where we'll learn about Ansible. There is Chef, Puppet, Ansible, Salt, many things, but again Ansible is the most used, so we'll learn Ansible. And coming to the APIs code infrastructure automation part, we'll look at Terraform. So Terraform is the leader in that particular segment, so we'll look at Terraform for understanding that. And then the cloud part will mostly focus on AWS, because again you will have a lot of scope on AWS compared to the other cloud platforms. And then we'll look at the, like I told you, the scripting part of Python. And yeah, for one more thing is, we'll also try to understand the other pieces of DevOps. It's not definitely for everybody, but some DevOps folks also look at automating the change management, incident management process. But I'll just give an overview on that, and how people automate that processes in their organizations. The whole course agenda I've posted in the WhatsApp group, but I might have missed something, so I am going through it. I don't have it open here, so I just told you whatever I recollect. So this is the whole agenda that we'll be covering, and this is the whole the introduction side part of it. So what we'll do is, we'll try to understand from you guys, what is your work background, and what are you looking from DevOps. So we'll start with Abhinay.
Hi, bro. So
Okay.
right now I'm working on the data engineering stream. One of me. So the thing is, just everyone is suggesting, because I have zero knowledge, means zero experience. So want to start with the zero knowledge only. So everyone is saying, instead of learning, going on through coding part, DevOps will have the less coding. So everyone suggested me to go to DevOps. So that's why I'm trying to move to DevOps stream right now. So that's why I'm planning from this Jan to start my new life with the new stream.
Okay.
And that's why, because I cannot struggle in the coding part, but at some extent part I can put, but not thoroughly. So that's the thing. That's why I choose this DevOps right now. In US also, everyone is saying, right, like go to the Azure one. Where right now Azure has more jobs compared to AWS. Azure is the easy one, they are saying to me, but how much it is right or wrong, I don't know the thing. Yeah. So that's why I'm planning to move on to the Azure DevOps Cloud.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the thing from my side.
Yeah. So next, Mohit, can you?
Hi.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right now I'm working as a network admin.
Mhm.
So I wanted to change my stream to software development, and I want a little bit of networking as well. So I chose DevOps to like increase my knowledge on developing side.
Okay. Perfect. Then Karthik.
Hi, I did my mechanical engineering bachelor's, and after that I worked for 1.5 year on .NET development,
Mhm.
and later I did my master's in MIS Management Information Systems. So I have like zero knowledge on Azure, and so this is my like I should learn from the scratch.
Okay.
It's my thing.
Okay. And then we have Rajesh.
Yeah, hi. Uh, Even I've did my civil engineer, did my bachelor's in civil engineering. So right now I'm into CPT. I'm doing my master's in the US. So I have to start from the scratch. Like everyone are saying that DevOps has like less coding. So I just like uh, thought to take a shot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. No issues. So just I mean, understanding from you guys, cloud is a very, like, it's not the major part of DevOps. Along with, apart from cloud, if you look at the agenda that I've shared, there is a way lot to it. Like, the major part of DevOps is cloud is one interesting piece of it. But again, you have CI/CD, you have Kubernetes side of it. Then networking is also important, one more interesting aspect of it. And you have configuration management, automation, you have API infrastructure management. So they're like, because you people come from a different background, so to understand about DevOps, I'll try to explain like the evolution and where it started, why it started. So before let's talk about 4 to 5 years or 8, 9 years back. Like, everybody used to there was no term called as DevOps. So at that time, people used to work on different things. Like, there was configuration management engineers, there were release engineers, then there were network engineers, and there were this engineers who used to manage the data centers, because at that time everybody used to have their, even if it's a small organization, they used to set up their own data center, or they used to share it with some other companies. So there used to be that network engineers who used to manage the data centers as well. So all these people were working on different aspects. Like the configuration engineering part, he used to look at the version controlling sorry, the version controlling, and he used to look at uh, merging code into their version control system, and getting the PRs, looking into the code changes and this side of it. Because at that point, even the version controlling system was also not at its par. So at that time, the version controlling used to be on SV and CVS, which is the uh, centralized version controlling system. But now you have Git, which is a distributed version control system. So that is one major evolution of DevOps. Okay, so from configuration management point of view, you have evolved from centralized version controlling system to distributed version controlling system. So on a distributed version controlling system like Git, now you can work from anywhere. You can share your code from one place to another place. You can fork your code. You can do whatnot. Previously, it was not the case. It was so tightly coupled with a centralized version control system, and you always have to be connected to that central version control system only. But now it's not the case. So that was evolution from configuration management point of view. And from the data centers point of view, I don't think I have to tell you again. Basically, people have evolved from centralized data centers to cloud. Why is that so? Because uh, be, primarily it's because of the infrastructure cost, but the other thing is also about the maintenance. So if you are going for a cloud platform, the maintenance side of it is taken care by the cloud platforms only, right? For example, if there is a severe vulnerability, you don't have to worry about it. So AWS have to worry about it. And regarding the patches upgrades, regarding, for example, you are going with a crazy number of servers, like you have thousands of servers, it will be very difficult to manage all those servers and do patches on all those servers, or upgrades basically. So that is one side of it, and the other thing is infrastructure cost, right? So if you're buying hardware, whether you use it or you don't use it, you already bought it and you are already paying for the maintenance of those hardware, so you are logged. Well, if you are going for cloud platforms, you can auto scale, you can auto scale it to up and down, and then cloud services are also coming, cloud platforms are also coming with the service model, right? For example, if you look at AWS or Azure at this point, you have deployed your applications, and then they have services like Kubernetes as a service, they have Elasticsearch logging as a service, then they provide private cloud, hybrid cloud, like they have VPCs which will secure your cloud. So everything is coming, I mean, they are creating everything as a service. So for a user, it's very easy. And for the organization, they can get, I mean, they can overcome the infrastructure cost as well as the maintenance, which was very burdensome. So that was one part of evolution. Like I told you, the evolution from configuration management point of view, then the evolution from networking point of view, and then there was a huge advent in the CI/CD, the build and the automation part of it. So the interesting part was, if you look at like 8, 9, 10 years back, I mean, the build and the build part used to be very funny. So most of the things used to be Java applications at that point, right? So Java applications, and the build was, they used to build it in Ant or Maven. Maven was also very less. So they used to build everything in Ant, and the binaries used to be jars, vars, or ERs. And everybody used to put, for example, if I'm building my application, I used to put it in a common storage. They used to put the whole things in a server, and whoever wants to download, they used to connect to that specific server and they used to download it from there. And there was no tracking again. So this was very tedious, and this was very, everything was so manual that you can run into errors like 2 to 3 out of 10 times. So then the evolution of CI/CD was one of the major, I can say it's one of the major shifts. It is one of the major reasons for DevOps. I can actually say, more than cloud, the evolution of CI/CD is a major part of DevOps. So everybody who started working on DevOps, rather than working on cloud, everybody started working on the CI/CD. Organizations firstly adopted CI/CD more than cloud, because CI/CD is one of the interesting and the important piece of the whole any organization. Because what is the primary requirement of any organization? They want to have continuous builds, they want to do continuous releases, and they want to ship the releases very continuously to the customers, right? So it's not like I'll do my releases and after 1 year I'll deliver it to my customers. No, right? So whenever you are doing a release, there will be issues, there will be bugs, then you have to do the patches, there are hot fixes that you'll have to deliver, there can be vulnerabilities that you have to ship immediately. So the interesting piece is always to make this whole process automated and make this whole process continuous. So that was the evolution of continuous integration and continuous delivery. So coming to the continuous integration and continuous delivery, the end goal, I mean, the end goal is to, like, as a developer, I'll just commit my code to the version control system, and I don't want to see anything that is happening. I don't care. So if I commit my code to a version control system like Git or anything, at the end, I want to see the user seeing that piece of code live. So the whole process from building the application, from testing the application, from doing the code quality of the application, doing end-to-end tests, regression tests, and then storing this artifact in a centralized location, deploying this on a servers, and then making it live for the users or making it live for the testers. So the whole background part of it, as a developer, I don't have to do anything. I just have to commit my code. So somebody have to automate this whole piece of code from committing it to the source repository to either delivering it to the testers or delivering it live to the customers. So the whole process in between should be automated. So this was something that attracted, I don't want to say many, because it attracted all the organizations, because the piece that I was talking about is very burdensome and very error prone to all the organizations. So the piece that can do this is CI/CD. So there was, I can say there are, at this point, there are hundreds of tools that can do this. People mostly at the time of, at the time when all this started, Jenkins was called Hudson. So people were using Hudson, and now Jenkins is very popular tool in this particular space. But again, along with Jenkins, now there are hundreds of tools. Yeah, I cannot say like Jenkins is a suggested solution for everybody, because it all depends on your ecosystem and how your ecosystem, your organization ecosystem is placed. So if you are completely on cloud, then it differs. If you are completely on Kubernetes, then you'll have to choose a different solution than Jenkins, like Tekton or Argo CD, or there are different tools. We'll discuss this in detail when we move to the CI/CD discussion. But for now, understand that configuration management, the data centers automation part of it, CI/CD, which is one more important aspect of your DevOps. And then you have automation itself, So for example, as a DevOps engineer, if you have 100 EC2 instances or 100 cloud instances that are running, and now you want to make some changes to all these instances, not the ones that AWS is managing, but you want to install a library on all this, install your application on all these servers, or you want to do something on all these servers. So then you don't want to go and manually update all these servers. So this is again called configuration management. So that configuration management, which I talked to you earlier, was about the version controlling and source code, but this is about configuration management of all your servers. So for this, again, you have a lot of tools like Puppet, Chef, Ansible, Salt, and others. So the most widely used is Ansible, because it uses simple SSH protocol for Linux servers, and for Windows it uses WinRM. So it's very easy to develop, and it's very easy to connect to those servers and maintain your whole Ansible code. So this is again one more part. And then you have infrastructure automation part using Terraform. So as a DevOps, in a nutshell, what DevOps is basically automating the whole, automating everything in your ecosystem that will make the developers and the whole ecosystem very easy. So as a developer, they should only worry about writing the code. As a testers, they should only worry about testing the code. So everything that is in between has to be done by the DevOps engineers, and everything in between comes to the scope of DevOps engineers. So this is the very easy way to put in. So developers test the code, developers write the code, testers test the code, and everything in between, whether introducing a new tool for making the developer experience better, or bringing in new architecture for test automation, might also fall into the developer DevOps scope. But in a nutshell, this is how I can put it in a better way. So at this point, I'll stop and ask if you have any questions.
For me, there are no questions at all till now.
Okay. So basically, did you guys understand the reason or the evolution of DevOps and why it is important?
Yes.
Okay. So from Rajesh, Karthik, or Abhinay, do you have any questions, or is it clear to you? what is
Yeah,
DevOps?
it is clear.
Yeah, it's clear from my side.
Okay,
Yeah, it's clear.
perfect then. So, how many of you are familiar with Git or any version control system?
Like GitLab, you
I
asking?
Any flavor of Git, GitHub, GitLab, or I just want
Yeah.
to understand how many of you are aware of the concept of Git?
Yeah, I know the GitLab and GitHub also. Yeah, those two things I know.
Okay, okay. Anybody else?
I know like a gist of GitHub.
Okay,
I don't know anything about GitHub.
okay, okay. No issues. No, I'm just trying to understand the where do I start and how can I explain. So that's the only thing. And did you guys before have any understanding of DevOps, or did you work any of you did you work with the DevOps team, or uh, any tools on DevOps like Jenkins, or did any of you have any prior understanding?
No, bro.
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, one more thing that I want to ask is about the timing. So because you people are from different locations, right? So what would you guys suggest? Because on WhatsApp it's not happening. So uh, what is your preferred timings, everybody? Can we
So
continue this time, or do you want to change it?
yeah, we will continue this time. Actually, I'm from East Coast. It's already like 10:15 here.
Okay, okay.
So yeah, it would be great if we have class from 9 to 10, which is maybe 7:30 to 8:30, or it can be even fine if it is 8 to 9 in the IST.
What is your comfort timing, bro?
Yeah, I mean, basically, this is the comfortable time because 7:30 to 8:30, what I've seen is I wake up early, but people don't join, and again, I'll have to wait for some time, and again, eventually it will end up from 8 to 9.
Yeah. The remaining
Yeah,
people also, if they are okay, we can continue these timings or changes
Yeah,
also.
I'm good with
Okay.
this time.
Okay.
Yeah, even I'm good with this time. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So one last thing before we end today's call is that no matter how much I explain, it will, the end of the day, it will only depend on you guys, how much you are practicing. So after every day's call, I'll give you an assignment. So I can ask you, I'll ask you, have you done it or not? But end of the day, it will completely depend on you guys. If you are practicing, and your enthusiasm to learn is the key thing that drives. Okay. So if you guys are not practicing what we are discussing in a specific call, it will be very difficult because like I told you in the introduction, right, it is very vast. So once we move from one topic to another topic, you at least need to have I don't want to say that you need to have complete hands-on, because hands-on you only get with the work experience. So once you start working on on any organization for DevOps, only then you will get a better hands-on experience, but you at least need to have some hands-on, a very little, right? So once you go to any organization and start working on DevOps, you should not be like a newcomer to them. You need to at least understand, uh, uh, if they're discussing about something, you need to at least be able to talk about it, or you at least need to uh, uh, run some basic commands. So if you want to do that, you just definitely need to have hands-on. So try to even on weekends or sometime, I know you all are busy, but whenever you get some time, try to relook at the videos, because every call I'll be sharing the videos. So try to relook at the videos, try to do some hands-on, and try to ask questions, so that way we all can learn better, right?
Yeah. Okay, bro.
Sure.
Okay. And one last thing, uh, can everybody say what is the configuration of laptops that you're using?
I'm using i5 and 8
Windows.
GB.
Okay, you're on Windows i5 8 GB.
Yeah.
Oh, 8 GB is very less, bro. Okay. And
Yeah, like i5 process only.
I'm using i5 16 GB.
okay.
i5 8 Gen 8 GB.
Okay. Okay. So I mean, if you're running any other processes on 8 GB, then sometimes it might get difficult. But okay, we'll manage somehow. No issues. Yeah, I mean, the only thing is if you're running Kubernetes or if you're running any services, right? They might solely occupy 4 GB, 2 GB to 4 GB of RAM. They might solely occupy. So at that time, you might see some slowness on your laptop. But once we end the session, you can actually turn off those services so that you will not face any issues.
Okay.
Okay, no problem. Anyways. So, and you guys need to have experience on Linux more. I mean, I know everybody is using Windows laptop, but you know what we'll try to do is we'll try to create an account in AWS, and all of you, you will, I mean, every one of you, what we'll do is we'll try to create an EC2 instance, which is a Linux server in AWS, and going forward, we'll also use that because you know if, working on Linux and working on Windows is completely different. So what we'll do is for example, if you want to run some Git commands or if you want to run some shell commands, Docker, Kubernetes, on Linux it's a different experience, on Windows it's a different experience. So when you go to organization, right, you'll most likely not be working on Windows. You will, if you're running Windows, then you know you'll use PuTTY or some other thing to connect to a terminal, and you'll work from there. So we need a Linux machine. So because you're all on Windows, we'll create a AWS EC2 instance and we'll use that as your primary server. So if you are on Mac, it was not needed, but because all of you are on Windows, this thing is needed.
Yeah.
Okay, so try to create an AWS account. That is very easy. You just have to provide your credit card details. It will be of zero charge. They'll not charge you anything. For 1 year, you'll not be charged anything, and after 1 year, the account will. If you renew the account, then it will be chargeable. But if you don't renew again, it will not be of any cost. So just go ahead and create the AWS account so that we don't waste time there. It's just the UI thing. Click next, and provide all the details. And don't do anything. Just create the account and keep it with you. And whenever we need the server, I'll show you how to do it so that we'll have it ready. We don't need it for tomorrow, but just it will be better if you have it.
Okay.
Okay, that thing is clear, right? Just
Yes.
Yeah.
Google it, create an AWS account, and you will understand how to do it.
Sure, bro.
Okay, chalo guys. So bye for today. We'll meet at the same time tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Yeah. Bye bye. See you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye, bro.
Bye.
Have a good day.